hit record. I thought it was funny because the other recording showed as the front page, like this one random moment when I was clicking a link and got a 404 page. And I thought it was great that like YouTube picked that out as the most prescient moment of the presentation. Don't you love it when that happens? Anyway, hello all. For those of you watching the video at home, this is an orientation and kickoff session for Spinnaker Gardening Days. This session might be a little long, but welcome to skip through it, and it will help you understand all the different resources that you need to get started with for the hackathon, and all the different things that you can expect and how to get the best experience out of it. So without further ado, I will share my screen and I'll show you the platform, which is a little bit better. We've got more going on than we did yesterday's. So if you watched yesterday's video, there's a little bit more information in here that wasn't in the first one because teams are now set up. So I am here in the Spinnaker Summit Gardening Days platform, and I'm just going to go out. Actually, can I go out? I can. Hopefully this doesn't make me like leave the call. Let's do this. So if I go to the event RSVP page, which is the page that most of you have received a link for, you should have the opportunity to RSVP and create an account. If you have issues getting into the event after you watch this recording, just ping us in Slack at Gardening Admin or direct message me or post in Gardening General, and we can help you and get you added to the event, as some folks on the call needed to do. So I'm going to click to enter the event. And here I am. This is the main space, and this links you straight to a bunch of great resources on spinnaker.io that have recently been updated for the Spinnaker Summit Gardening Days, including lots of resources that I'm going to show you on this call. But the other thing that is a little new here is that we now have all of the team areas, at least part of the way set up. Everybody has the opportunity to set up their own team area as they see fit. I have created 20 teams and matched folks into those teams on Slack. So your team area, just go into it in the platform like this. We'll try to get all these Slack channel links in there. If you're in a team and you're raring to go in your team, it's a great thing to do to just add the Slack channel there so folks can cross-reference it with what's happening in Slack. This is a great place for you to take notes in your team. And note here, I don't have to specifically join any team. I can just browse the teams, and then as I browse through the teams, it'll start showing that I'm in the team. There seems to be kind of a lag in there. So like right now it just switched and now I'm in Team Helm chart. So no one is specifically assigned to teams in this platform, and everybody has the freedom to move throughout teams and see what's going on and check out what projects they're interested in working on. All right, so beyond the platform, there are some other platforms that you need to engage in this event. The first one is Spinnaker Slack, and another important one is GitHub. But we'll start with the Spinnaker Slack. So I'll make my window a little smaller and bring my Slack window over here so you can see it on my screen. So here's Spinnaker Slack, and I'm here in Gardening General. I'm going to be posting in this channel for the entire month, trying to keep you motivated, letting you know what's going on, announcing events that are coming up. And as folks start contributing, we'll be bragging about contributions in this channel, and this is where you should go to post your contributions and share them with the community. More on that later. So anytime you need to do something with Spinnaker Gardening Days, a great place to start is just to post in Gardening General, and that'll get our attention. When you're in Gardening General, you can mention gardening admins, and that will reach out to me and Nikima, who is also on the call and is another community developer advocate at Armory. Nikima, you want to say hi for a sec? These little segments on your 4 fingers. Go ahead and raise your hand after you've tried this. How many fingers? Hey, it sounds like there's actually some school happening in the background, which because everybody's schooling their kids right now. But if you can if folks on the call can mute, and actually maybe I can mute. I can mute people. Here. Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna mute. I'm not gonna mute you, Nikima, because I asked you to say hello. But you are welcome to speak up whenever you decide to. All right. So mention gardening admin, and then also on-call gardening expert we'll get you with like a technical expert who can help you with your projects and help you with any technical issues that come up. Both of these there's no like rules for when you can and cannot mention these people. Mention us, and we will try to respond to your requests as soon as we can after we see these pings. We use Slack groups to add and subtract ourselves from these groups based on our availability. I will always be on gardening admin, so you can always reach me if nothing else. So Spinnaker Slack, the other things that you'll see in Spinnaker Slack, we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but the other thing that, other great place to engage on Spinnaker Slack is in your team channel. So each team that we've created for this event, for example, Team Bug Bash here, we've created a team channel for them, introduced folks, added people who were matched into the team initially into that channel. This is the place to start introducing yourself, start getting to know your teammates, start talking about project ideas, what do you want to do next, and go from there. Another great place to engage in Spinnaker Slack is in our SIG channels. SIG stands for Special Interest Group. So for example, I'm in the documentation SIG. There's always a lot of conversation happening here in the doc SIG, and we can see actually someone just joined the doc SIG from Gardening Days and said hello. We will follow up with that person soon. I think he was on the call last night. Going into a SIG and dropping in, just checking in to see, hey, what are you working on? You know, to network and to understand some of the problems happening in the space. That's another great way to engage. And anything that you do work with a SIG counts as points for Gardening Days. More on that later. All right, so next thing, we have here, let's go here. We have quite a few resources for the hackathon, and one of them is pretty sweet, and it's our leaderboard. So when I go to our leaderboard, it's at go.armory.io/contributors, or you can find the link to it right here in our big mega repository with all of our gardening documentation that was just on. So here I'm in Spinnaker Hackathon/gardening. That's this page I was at with all these different links to different resources that you might need for stuff that's happening in Gardening Days. So I clicked on the leaderboard. That took me to this Spinnaker contributors page. This is our big query. There's lots more information about how the different categories in here are calculated, and we'll go into more detail about that later. But high level, how do you get added to the leaderboard? How do you get started in the event? Go ahead and use our check-in link, which is at, so here I'm going to go into the getting started. So when I go to check into gardening, that's what's going to get started in adding me to the leaderboard. Enter just a little bit of basic information, some of which you've already shared, but sharing it here again gives us the opportunity to use some automation to track your contributions via the leaderboard. So thank you in advance for sharing this information again in the place where we need it. So checking into the event is what will unlock your access to the leaderboard and get you going as a registered and checked in contributor. We already talked about the Slack workspace and the Gardening General channel. And also we talked about the platform. Just a reminder, you should have received an email inviting you to the platform, Kiko Chat, which I showed you earlier. This is the platform. If you, for some reason, didn't receive an email or you don't know how to get into the platform, just ping us, Gardening Admin in Gardening General, and we can get you settled. But this Kiko Chat platform is where all the Gardening Days events are happening. And when I say Gardening Days events, it might be a little confusing because we have a Spinnaker Summit happening, and this Gardening Days is part of the Spinnaker Summit, but it's not all of the Spinnaker Summit. So we can see here if we go to our Linux Foundation events page, which you can get to if you want to at spinnakersummit.com too. You're on the schedule here, and all of our sessions are color coded. So the yellow sessions are the ones that are going to be held on this Spinnaker Gardening Days platform. All these yellow sessions will be held here and not on the MoDev platform where the rest of the Spinnaker Summit is happening. So yeah, bear with us on that and join us on the Kiko Chat platform, and that gives us the opportunity to connect through Zoom and have team rooms to meet and all that good stuff. All right. Let me see, what else do I need to talk about? And let me look at the chat and make sure it doesn't look like there's anything in the chat. Okay, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I talk a lot and I talk fast trying to get through a lot of information, but I'm happy to stop and answer your questions when they come up. All right. Oh, One thing I need to say is give a big thank you to our compute sponsor, AWS. So for this event, our compute sponsor, AWS, has donated a lot of compute so that you folks working in the hackathon can leverage free AWS resources if you want. And let's actually talk a little bit about what that looks like. And that's here on the Getting Engaged part of the Getting Started page. Hi, Abhishek. Thanks for joining. We're going through the orientation now. I'm going to post this video in Slack after so you can watch the beginning if this isn't your first time joining. I'm trying to see if you're the same Abhishek who was here last night. But anyway, nice to see you, and I'll keep going. So here in the Getting Engaged section, there's a thing about development environments. So that's one resource. I'll go ahead and click on that. Let's see. Yeah, read the documentation. This is what you want. I think I actually need to update this page. So I'm going to write a note to myself. Update dev and page. I'm going to be taking notes for myself of things to update and pay attention to as I go through this session, because totally making this up as I go along, and it's fun. So I'm going to go to documentation for these methods. That's on spinnaker.io. But actually what I wanted to talk about briefly in regards to the free compute is not only our dev environments page. So this page gives you some really good information on what are the different ways to get a development environment for Spinnaker Gardening Days or Spinnaker development in general set up. What are the different avenues you can do to set up the microservices architecture for development to test your changes, test your pull requests. So there are several different options. One of them is the Miniker method. There's a good solution. That's a good solution that lots of folks like to use. It's a VM-based solution that uses K3s to get the Spinnaker cluster going. There's a nice video about this here from the first gardening days in April. What I want to talk about though is the AWS EKS and telepresence method. This method is powering our managed development environment for this hackathon. So some of you folks who, when you registered, you got to say what kind of environment you were going to use. When you checked, I plan on developing in a managed development environment, or I plan on taking the new Spinnaker contribution walkthrough session and getting my environment from that. This is the environment that you folks are going to use to get up and running. So here is our nicely updated documentation. So, okay, one thing about this, there is an actual new contribution workshop, that new Spin contributor walkthrough workshop that's being offered today at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. This is behind the paywall of the event. So if you want to join this training live with instructor Fernando today, you have to sign up for the premium ticket. If you need a scholarship, you really want to go get the premium ticket, but you need a scholarship, need some sponsorship to get into that, just ping us. You can DM me, or you can mention Gardening Admin, and we can help you out to get access to that. However, getting access to the premium content is not the only way that you're able to set up your development environment for the event, and not the only way you're able to leverage these resources. I want to make that really clear. So when I go back to the new Spinnaker contribution walkthrough session, this walks you through a step-by-step of everything that you would do in that new Spin contribution workshop, all the different steps. So we're using a managed EKS environment. Everybody would have their own namespace to install Spinnaker in, and you've got a remote cluster going, and then you can clone the services that so here Fork can clone Orca, in this case Orca and Deck being used as examples. Fork can clone the services that you want to use locally, and then you can use telepresence to get the local services that you're developing on to communicate with the rest of the services in your EKS cluster, so that the whole thing works together like a nice Spinnaker application, and you can test your pull requests. So that's kind of the very high level method that you'll use if you're following along with this new Spin Contributors Workshop. Also, what's wonderful is that Fernando already offered the same session that he's offering today at 1:30 in our last gardening days, and he's posted the video of that right here taught by him. So you can, whether or not you register for that session, you can walk through the steps on this page on spinnaker.io. You can watch the video and go through the previous training. And you can also, if you get stuck and you need help, this is a great place to ping the on-call gardener and say, hey, I need some help. I'm stuck on this step on the new Spin Contributor Workshop walkthrough. So any questions about that, about the new contributors walkthrough or the development environment? So if you want to use the free compute from AWS, you got to do it in our managed development environment, and it gives you a really kind of quick and easy way to get Spinnaker up and running reliably using the Spinnaker operator. This session walks you through all of those steps. Cool. So I think I was here, and then I got to do the back button. Yes. So some other things I need to update on this page. So Justin's already been giving me tips on that this morning. Thank you for that. All right, so where am I here? I think let's start at the top of getting engaged, unless I have something here. Yeah, so let's say you have received your team assignment, you're starting to get your feet wet and meet some folks on your team. What's next for you? If you haven't received your team assignment, you can ping us in Gardening General. You can follow up. You can also go into a SIG channel and see who's interested in working with you or what kind of projects they have. There are a few different ways to get a team together, and we can talk more about that later if you have questions. But let's say you're in a team channel, and now you're like, well, what are we going to work on? So the next step would be to check out this projects, ideas, and teams page. Which is in our repository. And this has a lot of different ideas for projects that have come up from past gardening days or come up from users of Spinnaker that were connected through Armory and the rest of the Spinnaker community. So this is a great place to kind of shop for ideas that might inspire you. What you work on in this hackathon is by no means limited to what's in this document. And when you have ideas or when things come up, I encourage you to pull request them to this document so that they can be updated for everyone to share and take a look at and get excited about the ideas that we're working on. But that's what this document is a reference for, to kind of guide you in what kinds of ideas you can work on. And then once teams start picking up these ideas, we'll update this document to say which teams are working on what, so then you can cross-reference what you want to work on with what the rest of a team might be working on. Yeah. And need to get up to speed on Spinnaker to contribute, check out our training page. We did already talk a little bit about training in terms of the new Spin Contributors Workshop. There are other workshops being offered as part of the hackathon. So for example, we have several plugins trainings that are happening behind the paywall. But again, those are behind the paywall. There's alternatives to those sessions if you don't want to get that premium ticket. So you can go to our training page. And actually, I think this is another place where, yeah, I would love to update this, but I think the link for this is here. So this is the same link to that new Spin contributor walkthrough that Fernando taught that's linked on the other page. This is the plugins training workshop that was taught at the July Gardening Days. This is the next latest before now plugins content that's available online. And this is a nice hour-and-a-half, like 90-minute training from another Armory engineer who worked on developing the plugin framework. So this is a great place to start if you're interested in working on plugins. And there's also a nice playlist on the Spinnaker YouTube of Spinnaker training. So if you go to the Spinnaker training series, that will take you to the same videos that are listed here under April trainings. These are more like intro to operating Spinnaker type of trainings and just Spinnaker concepts, walking you through the AWS Quick Start, first pipeline for Kubernetes. Super useful stuff if you're just getting used to just getting started with Spinnaker. So I can highly recommend those trainings. Let's go back to, where was I? I was in getting started, trying to walk through getting started. All right. This bears repeating a gazillion times. If you need help getting started with a project, or you're like not sure you want to talk through an idea, you can always ping Gardening Admin or On-Call Gardener to talk through your idea. You can also show up to a stand-up. We're going to have stand-ups 4 days a week, or post in Gardening General to get a conversation going outside of the confines of your team channel. Totally fine, and we're happy to help you. And I get excited when I see folks getting engaged in the channel. So please, give me some smiles over this month. It's going to be awesome. All right. Have other questions or no? I already said that. This is really redundant. So I'm going to write that redundancy on 3 and 4. GS. Can't wait to look through all these chicken scratch notes later. That's going to be fun. Okay, so we actually talked about getting set up in your development environment. I think we've really kind of gone through what is here for the for getting started. So you folks kind of have that. So I want to move on to start talking about bigger picture, what is this? Why do you want to do it? And what are some of the rewards that you can get if you do it? So we did talk a little bit about the leaderboard, but I want to talk more about what goes into this leaderboard, what's being counted, and all of that good stuff. So Spinnaker Gardening Days is a hackathon where attendees, we form teams to work on Spinnaker projects or other projects. We've got great projects from GitHub, Sumo Logic coming up out of this event, and probably some more challenge partners who are going to come through and submit their pull request to the challenges page. More on that later. So we have two different rewards schemes for this event, and you don't have to pick one. Everybody is eligible for both. So I'll start with the individual contributions. I think, where is it? I think actually I'm in the wrong doc, sorry. So we've got two different places where we talk about judging and points. One of them is, let's see, challenges, I think, yeah. So we got, nope. Geez, I'm all unscripted here and I need a second to like get it together. Let's see, points tracking. Yeah, this is it. All right, sorry. So we have, oh, that's what I was thinking of. I was thinking of the prizes page. There we go. Okay, so we have two different types of prizes that we're offering. I'm back. Two different types of prizes that we're offering. We're offering individual prizes that everyone's eligible for, and we're also offering divisible team prize packages for projects that teams work on. So let's start with the individual prize tiers and talk a little bit about that, because those are the points that are being tracked here in the leaderboard. And note that any work that you would do on a team challenge would also count for your individual prize points. You get rewarded for what you put in as part of that team. So we are counting points for different things, more on what the points are soon. And we have some thresholds here. We're offering some cool toys for folks who come at different thresholds. If you get to the highest threshold and you get 150 points, you have a choice of 4 different really awesome prizes that are all of similar value. And we would reach out to you in Slack to find out which prize that you want. You'll hear about your eligibility and we'll announce the winners at the end of the session. So that's the individual prizes. And when I say individual prizes, well, how do we get those individual prizes and how do we rack up points for those? That's where this points page will do the explaining that I need. So we're doing 2 different types of points tracking for this event. We are, of course, tracking all of the GitHub events that you generate. And when I say GitHub events, I mean pull requests. You're creating pull requests, you're creating commits, you're creating issues, you're commenting on issues and pull requests. All of those things count. The way that we count those is by using a query on the GitHub archive dataset, which is released publicly by GitHub. So we're using this kind of nifty BigQuery integration in Google Sheets to get that data. It is batched data, so pay attention to that. The leaderboard marks here your GitHub event contributions, but that's not going to be up to date until maximum 2 days after you, almost 2 days after you make your contribution, because of the way that the data is batched. So be patient in looking for that data and know that we are actually working on an API-driven way of counting this so that you don't have to wait and you get instant gratification for your points. But ask me about that if you're curious. So yeah, that's how we're counting our GitHub contributions. And note that so far I'm only counting GitHub contributions to 2 different organizations. One is, of course, the Spinnaker organization. So that's the Spinnaker organization here. Any contributions that you make in that organization counts. And also this Spinnaker Hackathon organization that the gardening repository lives in. This is the place where you have all been added as collaborators and you have the ability to create repositories. And I want you to use that with abandon. Use your ability to create repositories here, put your work here so that we can count it very easily using our fancy automated leaderboard. So if you have a project that you're working on as part of Gardening Days and it doesn't live in one of those organizations and you have a reason why it shouldn't live in one of those organizations, just reach out to us on Gardening General at Gardening Admin or send a DM, and we can decide on a case-by-case basis whether to let that repository into the counting, and we can just add it to our query and count it if it makes sense to do so. Yeah. Now, I want to talk about content contributions, and there's a little bit of overlap, which I alluded to, when you're making content contributions, because you can get potentially double points for some content contributions. So let's say you are working on a tutorial, a blog post, a solution brief, a white paper, a training guide, a video, even Twitch streams, or let's say you're interviewing someone in the community and you're going to write a blog post about it, something like that. All of these long form content things, I've struggled a little bit in how to accurately count and reward people for this. So I think double counting is a way to give people the consummate reward for the amount of time that it takes to create these resources. So if you want to create one of these resources, what I recommend you do is initiate the content, or if it's a video, initiate the script for your video as a repository in Spinnaker Hackathon and name it whatever you like that makes sense with your content. And then you're going to get points in this column for those commits and other activities, issues, or whatever come up as you're working on that repository. But there's also another way to get points for content after it's posted, because of course we want it to be posted and shared publicly. That's kind of the whole point. So once you've initiated in that repository, if it's eligible for that, more on eligibility in a second, you publish it in its public destination, take a screenshot of it, and then go back over to Gardening General. Ooh, someone posted. So, oh, it's Nikema. Yay! Nikema said hi in Gardening General. So that's the place to talk with her and get to know Nikema. She's a super awesome new member of our community, and she is co-founding our contributor experience SIG. So she is a great person to get to know, and she wants to learn a lot more about the Spinnaker community, and you can help her do that in this event. So thank you. Yeah, and she's an awesome dev and founder, and I could keep talking about Nikema, but I'll stop. So if I want to post my screenshot of my content, and I can just do like a fake one now. So this is my post. Ooh, I should talk about the what to hack page. This is my post. I'm going to take a screenshot. I'm going to put it in here. I just created some Spinnaker content. I'm Danilosaur on GitHub. It might be helpful if you add that. So I can add that here, and then I can mark my response with a gold coin. That's the emoji that we're using to count this one, and that's here. So mark your response, and it's great if you do a brief description of the content. Like, you're sharing your content with the whole gardening community here, so it's great to kind of sell your content, and that'll get folks interested in checking out your content, and that's good for all of us. But then, yeah, after you post it, add this gold coin emoji to your message, and once you do that in Gardening General, you will see that your content and web contributions, once you've been added to the leaderboard, is automatically incremented by adding that gold coin. And if you want to get a little bit more detail about the content and I will be using this a lot to verify the content and check out what people are submitting, click on the content submissions tab of the spreadsheet, and you can see where the event was triggered, where I just posted here, and it's the not only does it have the message text here, but it also actually has the permalink to that Slack message, so you can go right to it and check out the message. And that's one way that we can kind of prevent folks from gaming the system. I don't think that's going to happen, but if anyone were to game the system, we have a really easy way of like verifying that the stuff that was marked with the gold coin actually deserves the gold coin. We can also use the gold coin in Slack to reward people for doing stuff. I haven't decided if we're going to do gold coin for bonus points. Maybe we need a special emoji for bonus points, so wait to hear more from me on that later. But for now, mark stuff with a gold coin when you feel like you deserve credit for it. Particularly when you're posting content. That's the main purpose for that. One other note, so let's actually go over to, so I'm naming a lot of different ways to contribute here, but I haven't actually talked to you about what are all the different ways to contribute. There are lots of different ways to contribute to an open source project, and it is not just about coding. Although code and building plugins and bug fixing, all that is super important, and folks doing that are very welcome in our community. But there are other types of ways to add value too. So let's go to this what to hack page. This is what to hack on Spinnaker Gardening Days. And remember, these pages here are live in our main space. So if I go into the main space, I can see here what to hack, and I can check out my what to hack list right here in the platform. So actually I should do it here so that I can model that, although the text might be a little small. So if you're not sure where to get started contributing to Spinnaker, and you want to maybe branch out beyond just what your team is working on, there are lots of different ways to earn points. The first one, of course, is to work with your team to create some content or do something cool, and we're better together. So working with a team is a great idea. But there are other ways to add value. So you personally or your team can check out this list of beginner-friendly Spinnaker issues. Oh, and so my links are going to work in here, which is one thing. Nikima and I noticed that GitHub links seem to be weird inside the platform. We almost put the repository in here, but it didn't work. Mysteries of Kiko that we will solve later. For now, I'll just switch back over to the Spinnaker.io version of this page. So if I'm here in my list of beginner-friendly Spinnaker issues, these are just issues that have been tagged as beginner-friendly in our project. And you can see that the Kubernetes SIG has been extra good about tagging issues here. One of the things that Nikima and I are going to be working on this month is trying to get more folks to tag issues as beginner friendly so that we can populate this list with more accessible issues for you to check out. But for now, we have about 12 here that you can work on. And let's say you were working on one of these. These are mostly from the Kubernetes SIG. Let's say you're interested in working on one of these and you kind of need a little bit of context. A great place to go and get context would be, in this case, the Kubernetes SIG. So I can go to sig-kubernetes, and here I can interact with people who are part of the Kubernetes SIG, ask them questions, and get engaged in some conversation, maybe even find a teammate, who knows. But beginner-friendly issues are a great place to start as you're getting familiar with the Spinnaker code base. Another thing on the list here, create a custom Sage plugin and familiarize yourself with using the framework. This is a great thing to do inside the Spinnaker Hackathon organization. So you can create your own repository where you'll play with your new plugin, even if it's a plugin that just kind of does something simple and doesn't necessarily solve a problem for you. This is a great place to start in getting familiar with the plugin framework. And this links to the plugin creators guide, which is a helpful collection of resources on spinnaker.io. That's a great resource to look at if you want to look at Spinnaker plugins, but I also showed you, I think before, right, the plugins training that happened at the last hackathon. It's in here somewhere. I think it's in our live, it's like in our live videos. Yeah. Right here, plugin training workshop. Yeah. So that's another great resource to look at if this is one of the things that you're interested in doing. Another way to help is to stop by the SIG documentation Slack channel and see what kind of work you can pick up. There is documentation work, and right now we are working on a very exciting refresh of this website that is getting close to being done. There's some tasks that you could probably help us with and other documentations that we would love for you to jump in on. So if you're interested in working on that kind of thing, just stop into the SIG documentation channel and say hi and see where it goes from there. Another thing that you can do, remember we talked about GitHub events being tracked. Commits and pull requests are not the only GitHub events that we are tracking, because issues and issue comments and reviews are also really helpful as contributions in our community. So I made a note for myself that I need to make this into a clearer link, but I'll repeat this. So I'm in the Spinnaker organization here. All of the issues for Spinnaker are consolidated into this project, Spinnaker/Spinnaker. So once I'm in Spinnaker/Spinnaker, I can go to issues. I see I have quite a lot that are open here. This is a great place to browse issues that are interesting to you. And maybe you're not solving an issue, but if you can ask a useful question about an issue or provide context from your experience, that could be something that would help other folks work on an issue. So feel free to engage in this way. Also submit issues if there's a problem with Spinnaker that you've noticed and you want to talk to folks about it, or a problem with the community, right? Because we have a contributor experience SIG that's spinning up, wanting to deal with contributor experience problems. You can post your issues here if you have a concern about the contributor experience or an idea, and the contributor experience SIG folks will be able to follow up with you about that, which is pretty exciting. So that's the way to get involved with issues here, issues and well, yeah, that's just issues. Oh, Stack Overflow. This is a good one. And this is a place where I said I was going to come back to and I haven't yet. So there is a list here, a nice handy list on Stack Overflow of all the questions tagged Spinnaker. You can see there are 387 questions that are tagged Spinnaker on Stack Overflow, and many of them don't have answers even though they have views. So this is a super helpful way to help our community. You know that feeling when you're looking for an answer on Stack Overflow and you're going crazy and you just like want to end it all, and then you find the Stack Overflow answer for exactly the problem that you need to solve, and it saves your day. Give other people that feeling, pay that feeling forward, and try to answer one of these questions. And once you do answer one of these questions, take a screenshot of your answer, post it in Gardening General, and put a gold coin on it, because that is a content contribution that you will be rewarded for. And this is the Stack Overflow answers is the only one of the gold coin posts that, like, to me, it doesn't really make sense to initiate a Stack Overflow answer as a GitHub repository. So I would say that's not a double points opportunity, but it is a points opportunity. And if you are like just crushing Stack Overflow issues and helping a lot of people in the community, you'll be rewarded for that. And there are more ways to earn points than just the gold coins. Wink, wink. And another thing that I think is not in here is, like, Stack Overflow is not the only place to help folks in the community. So you'll notice, like, probably while you're engaging in the event, every single day, people are in this general channel, and ooh, Levent, your fresh Spinnaker is going to be ready soon. I'm super excited. So you're posting in general, and other folks are posting in general too, and they're saying, hey, like this person just this morning, I'm running Cloud Driver in HA mode, and all 4 services are looking fine, but when I'm adding a deploy step, they're having an issue. So if you would like to engage with folks and answer questions in this channel, that is another opportunity to earn points. I think I need to set up the Zap for that to make sure that it counts all of those points. But this is another place where you can just reply in a thread. And if you're concerned about getting the points, just mention Gardening Admin here, and we can help work it out and make sure that you get your points. But you will also be rewarded for helping folks in Spinnaker Slack, not just Stack Overflow. That's all I was trying to say. All right, sharing a tip in Spinnaker Tips. I got a great question about this on last night's call, which I can share with you. But so you can share a tip in Spinnaker Tips, and that is a channel here. We have not had a lot of adoption of this, so maybe this time will be the difference, but we are really looking for folks to share their tips, Spinnaker tips, kind of quick tips that you think would help other Spinnaker users and operators. And we would like to showcase these on the new spinnaker.io. So we'll have maybe a rotating thing of your tip being featured. This is a great way to, like, make people aware of your professional profile. We can link to your Twitter or link to your LinkedIn from there so that people can check you out after you share your tip. Once you share a tip here, just mark it with a gold coin and you will receive a point for sharing a tip. Sharing a Spinnaker news item, this is a similar thing. So we have this Spinnaker newsletter. You can sign up for the newsletter, and I will be periodically checking newsletter signups to see who is registered for the hackathon, who signed up, and you can get a point for that too. But if you want to help us build the newsletter, which would be really helpful because it's kind of hard to keep up with, you can go into the Spinnaker news channel, Spinnaker News. And let's say you saw a great article about Spinnaker a couple months ago, or you saw something that just came up, or maybe it was a really interesting Twitter conversation about Spinnaker. Maybe it was not a flattering Twitter conversation about Spinnaker. It doesn't matter. Whatever kind of content you find online about Spinnaker that you think is interesting, go ahead and screenshot it, link it, stick it in here, and mark it with a gold coin so that you can be rewarded for sharing that content. And this one is, we kind of talked about this. We talked about this when we were talking about content contributions, but there was one thing I forgot about content contributions. This isn't gaming the point system, but if you're making videos in particular, shorter, smaller videos, not like this one, are really a lot easier for folks to consume and get a lot more interest on our platforms. So, like, let's say you want to walk through a whole process and the process is going to take 45 minutes or something, try chunking that up into 10-minute videos or maybe even shorter. Chunk it up into a playlist of videos so that folks can easily consume the content and we can modularize it over time. Breaking things up into small digestible pieces is not gaming, it's paying attention to the user experience for people watching videos. So I highly encourage you to create short chunks of content, short bursts of content that will add value to the community, and that'll get you more points, and it will also make our community like a more accessible place, in my opinion. I think this is redundant, so that's a note for myself. Flying redundancy, WTH. Not what the hell, what the heck? All right, set up a Spinnaker development environment. Oh, so Levin, I think you maybe are, no, not maybe. I think you're eligible for a point because you posted your fresh Spinnaker into the general channel. So once I add the zap for the general channel, if you mark this with a gold coin, you will get a point for that because you said, hey, my Spinnaker development environment is up and running. I'm excited about it. Share that stoke. That gets the whole community excited. Keep doing that. And that's kind of what this one is all about. And if one thing to say, I'm finding a lot of like stuff in the documentation that I want to fix. You're welcome to fix this documentation too on spinnaker.io or in our Spinnaker Hackathon repository, gardening repository, and like that's worth points, and it will also help us make this event better and again more accessible for folks. Updating library version dependencies. This is an exciting, well, it's maybe not exciting, but this is like low-hanging fruit that I think is really important. And this is maybe a good way to get into the project that's a little different from documentation. If you need more information about this, you can go into Gardening I Need Help, which is a channel that we're not using that much. And I'm kind of trying to decide if we should kill it. But for now, you can go in there, or you can also just go into Gardening General and @mention. Don't forget to look at the questions in Zoom chat. Oh, again, am I forgetting again? Go into Gardening General and ask the on-call gardener about updating library version dependencies, and they will likely be able to help you. And this is a really good way to add value to, this is such a simple thing, but this can be a showstopper for production, as most of you know. Okay, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna take a breath, and I'm gonna look in the chat, but there's nothing in there. Was it a joke? Was that like a LOL moment for me? Gave me an opportunity to breathe though. Take a drink of water. If you have questions, happy to hear them. Don't forget to look. I think he's just giving me a helpful hint. Maybe he's hoping for a gold coin for that one. I'll think about it. This is a good one. This is a really good one. So run through a Spinnaker code lab. What's a Spinnaker code lab, you ask? This is a documentation task that's not filed. There's not a lot of different types of documentation projects and stuff listed on this yet. I think there's only one thing in there, but this is a work in progress. But one of the really important documentation tasks that you can help out with is code labs. So there are a bunch of code labs on this tutorials page on spinnaker.io, and many of them are out of date. Seems like a really big job to update a code lab, and while we would love for you to do that, please do that. That's not the first step. The first step is literally just walking through the code lab, going through the steps, and when you hit a roadblock or something doesn't make sense, something's out of date, or the documentation isn't correct, you can go back to that Spinnaker, go into issues, and submit your issue for it there. And actually, you know what? Hold on. I'm just saying that, but I'm almost thinking that the documentation site is the only site that doesn't have its issues consolidated. Yes. If you put an issue in Spinnaker and it was documentation, it would get tagged as docs and it would also be seen, I think. But I believe technically you're supposed to put all of your documentation issues into the documentation issues area instead of the main one. And that might be changing as we update the new site. You can ask the doc SIG about that in a SIG documentation channel. But in any case, this is the place to submit your issues, like when you're running through a code lab and you hit a roadblock, and submitting those issues helps us pinpoint where things are out of date and gives other collaborators and contributors the opportunity to jump in and fix those things to also earn points and add value to the community. So I think that is a really great way for you to add value, and you can see there are a lot of them here. So this is a great learning opportunity as well as helping us vet and update our documentation. Almost done. We talked about this one, dropping into SIG channels, ask what they're working on to learn more. If you end up organically creating a team from either folks that you know at your company, folks in your network, or folks that you meet in a SIG channel or in the general channel, that team is totally a valid team in gardening. Just reach out to us at Gardening Admin and we can help you set up a team space and get all the resources that you need so that you can work as a gardening team and be celebrated as such. This is the last one, and I like this one, but no one ever wants to do it. But so surprise me, host a Gardening Days event. Anyone is welcome to host an activity. I can add you to the gardening schedule, and you can be feted as someone hosting an activity. Maybe it's a training about something that you want to show other people how to do. Maybe it's an activity that's not technical or not related to Spinnaker, and you just want to have a little fun. It could be an exercise session. It could be a dance party. Whatever you want to lead, a discussion group, this is a great opportunity to get on the schedule, get to know your fellow contributors and kind of show your face and have a little fun. So that was definitely gold coin worthy at the very least. Let me see, we've got about 7 minutes left, so I'm going to take a pause and ask if folks have questions, and I'm also going to review this like super long list of stuff that I made for myself that I'm supposed to say and make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. Oh, deployment survey. That didn't happen. Hello. Okay. I didn't find anything in my notes that I forgot. I showed you the check-in link. I showed you the leaderboard. I showed you all the stuff. Let's see if there's anything in here that I forgot. We talked about the schedule. The gardening events are yellow. We talked about the projects, ideas, and teams page. We talked about, did we talk about, challenges. We didn't talk about challenges. And that's partly because this page is under construction, but no, it's just because I forgot. But I remembered, lucky you. We have some team challenges, and this is what we are using to award those team prize packages. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about the whole team. I got off on a super long and productive tangent, but we are also offering team prize packages. So let's start here and then we'll go into the challenges page to see what we're actually offering them for. So we've got team prize packages in several different categories. The one that's closest to my heart is these, the ones that are closest to my heart are these Spinnaker categories. So we'll start with those. In our Spinnaker challenge, we have 2 different challenge categories for Spinnaker. One is for content essentially, and the other one is for other types of contributions. So the first one is for updating Spinnaker core, fixing bugs, building out a plugin or another type of extension, creating proposed features. Sometimes folks create automation, like last time we had some dynamic accounts automation that was built. That falls into this category. We're offering at least 3 prizes for this if there are 3 eligible projects submitted at the end of the demo. Oh, we also have to talk about that, so I better talk fast. We've got similar pricing for the Share Your Spinnaker Challenge, first, second, and then we'll offer honorable mentions as it makes sense. We also have some super exciting challenge partners joining us this time. For the GitHub challenge, this is the most fully scoped partner challenge. We have some suggestions from our experts about really, we put together like feature stories about different things to do. 4 of them are about GitHub and Spinnaker integration. And then 2 extra ones are about open source community stuff that I would love to see folks work on as part of this event too. And we'll figure out a way to get you points for that if you're interested in working on keeping forks updated for OSS contribution workflows or for Netlify stuff. But there are there's already a repository created for the GitHub stuff. So I'm in here in Spinnaker Hackathon GitHub Actions. Each of these proposed projects has its own repository with information from engineers at both Armory and GitHub that kind of scopes out the project and what the different components would be. And those folks are probably available for you to talk to if you need to consult on like how to get started with one of these projects. So we have a couple teams that I've tasked that were interested in working on GitHub stuff. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of that challenge. And as such, we're going to try and offer 2 prizes if we have 2 eligible projects that come out of the GitHub integration work that we're hoping to see. There's also a Sumo Logic challenge that is in progress, and I know that I'm waiting on pull requests for these 2 challenges, Sumo Logic and New Relic. And for Sumo Logic, I believe that they're offering additional prizes. I did add some more information, like base information about what I think a Sumo Logic integration could look like. So I'll click on that in a second. Just first, actually no, but let's go ahead and go over to the challenges page, and I will wrap up here in a second. So we've got our challenges. So for the Sumo Logic challenge, where I didn't link that. Okay, let's go here. And you can go into, I will update the links from those pages so that this is like more intuitive. But for now, you can see you're in the Sumo Logic repository, and there's just a README that talks about some ideas that we had about essentially like correlating DORA metrics with stuff that's happening in your pipelines. This is a great place to, Sumo Logic like already provides a lot of stuff out of the box that you might need to do such a thing. So I'm thinking that this might be a cool project for folks who are interested in showing more DORA metrics using SDLC automation to kind of demonstrate what the activity is. I think this would be a great place for those folks to work. So I've created a team for that. And what else do we have here? Challenges, other challenges. We have a New Relic challenge that's not scoped, and we also have an AWS challenge. So far, all I have in the AWS challenge is ECS stuff, because those are the folks who have scoped these projects. These are nicely scoped ECS projects, so we have a team that's devoted to this as well. And last thing, I just want to briefly touch on judging and stuff, because I think people care about that. And I care about it because it's fun. So challenge judging. Our judging system is pretty simple. So we don't have any kind of automated fancy tracking for it like we do for your individual points. Instead, what we're doing is to award those prizes, we will have a synchronous/asynchronous demo process and an anonymous judging voting process. So we'll use Google Forms to create a base demo survey, and then we'll finalize it on demo day. Demo day is November 12th, so I can go and check it out on the schedule here. If I'm filtering for my bright yellow sessions, our very last gardening session is the gardening demo and judging. That's happening on the 12th of November at 9 a.m. So during that event, that will be the opportunity for you to come and demo your work live. But some folks might not be able to join that session, and that's okay. If you would like to demo during the session, but you can't make the demo session, just post a video or some other fancy way to show what you have created in Gardening General. Make sure that all of your information is in there, and that you're signifying your intent to demo it and to be entered in to win a prize. And maybe you can talk about what category you might be in. I'll provide more guidelines on this as we get closer, but make sure that you post that before 9:30, so right in the middle of that demo session on demo day, and then we can show that to our judges during the session along with the work that folks are demoing live, and we'll update that survey at the end. And the folks who are voting, last thing, folks who are voting are the gardening like on-call gardener experts, and also some of the people from our SDLC partners, like B. Doogie from GitHub Actions will be joining probably in the voting process to see what's going on with the GitHub projects, and other folks like perhaps from Sumo Logic and New Relic. If projects come from there, then they will also be judging those. Gardening admins will be voting too. We will all vote, and then we will announce the winners at the end of the demo if we can, or else on Slack and at the final kind of ring ceremony at the Spinnaker Summit. So that's our plan. We are at the end of our time. I am available to take questions now, but I know that we don't have a ton of folks live on the call, so I'll be taking probably most of the questions in Gardening General later, which is totally cool. I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm also going to check the chat and make sure there is one question. Oh, Cool. Yep. Thank you, Levin. Anyone have any questions or anything you want to say or talk about your projects? Justin, I see you posted something in Gardening General. You got the gold coin going? It's up and running. Oh, you're using Miniker. Can you tell us what your, can you talk to us about why you chose to use Miniker? You can type it if you want and I'll read it, or you can use your mic. Or you can be like, I don't want to answer your question.
Can you hear me now? Cool,
Yes.
but now I can't hear you. Oh, okay,
Yep.
cool.
I was just muted.
Yeah. So I work at Salesforce, and we're going to be doing a lot of changes to Spinnaker for Azure. So I'm looking forward to being part of that contributing force. And Miniker is just a really quick way to set up Spinnaker locally. We have a lot of cloud environments that have Spinnaker set up, but making changes to those is difficult because normally someone starts using them for other purposes very rapidly. So it's easier to basically isolate and just have it on our local machine. But yeah, that's what my choice was.
And since I didn't get your registration info from the sign up process, I'm glad that you just brought that up. So when I ask you a question in one of these sync sessions, answer it, because then I get information and I can use it to help you. So we have an Azure team. And I'm gonna link you in with that team and see if you can be part of working with them to either scope project ideas or work if you're available to do so, because I think they would like to have your expertise from someone who's actually using it in production, as some of them also are, I think. So
yeah,
I will add
if
you
it's
to that.
part of the Azure SIG, it's mostly my company.
Yeah, it's not part of the Azure SIG. I mean, this is a gardening team, but I think there are probably at least one other Salesforce person on there. And yes, your company has an awesome presence in the Spinnaker SIG scene, and we're super grateful for that. So thank you, Salesforce. And they were our first gardening sponsor too. So
oh, nice.
Shout out to Salesforce for that. All right, I am going to wrap it up now, unless other folks have things they want to say on the call. Thank you, Justin and Abhishek and Nikima and Ed, for joining. And thank you all watching at home. Haha, we're all at home. And I'll see you on the flip side. I'll see you tomorrow in our next gardening stand-up. But also, today is a kickoff, and actually right now we're overrunning the kickoff of our first technical and business focused sessions for the Spinnaker Summit. So let me just do a quick how to do Spinnaker Summit thing, even though I don't know if I know how to do it, but I will try to figure it out. So if I'm here, let's see. How do I go to Spinnaker Summit? So right now, first we'll check out the schedule, go back to the schedule, because one of the things I didn't bring up is that we talked a lot about content, but I didn't say what would you write content about. There are some great ideas on that project ideas page, but another super obvious and super awesome way to generate content for this event, just write about whatever you see, or create videos, or create artifacts. Even tweets. If you tweet about sessions that you see at Spinnaker Summit, and they're, you can mark those with a gold coin and get points for those. So that's one thing that you can do. But there are some sessions starting today at 10 o'clock. So we've got a really cool plugin development training workshop from Victor, who was one of our Google Summer of Code contributors this past summer. He is leading that, and we have some other cool sessions coming up. Scaling Spinnaker for multi-region, multi-cloud SaaS deployments in production. By the way, we don't know what this lock is for. These are not premium sessions, so you should be able to access them. We don't know what the lock is about. I got to ask the Linux Foundation. Another really great session that's coming up is one from Beth Fuller of Armory, talking about vulnerability management process and the security SIG, which Salesforce may also be part of. Got some more content on Spinnaker plugins, and the new Spin Contributors Workshop, which we talked about at length. So if you want to join these sessions, you should be able to go to register and register for your standard ticket or your premium ticket. If you need help accessing the premium ticket, if you need a scholarship, can't pay for it, just mention us gardening admin or direct message me and I can help you out with getting a coupon code or getting access to it. And if you're registered, you should receive an email with the link, but I believe that the event link was also posted in here. See you all there? Maybe, nope. Show me it was posted somewhere. Spinnaker Summit 2020. I totally need to get off this call, sorry, but I think that, yeah. Main stage. All right. So Andrea yesterday shared this link, and I can put the link to this tweet in the in Gardening General so that you folks can use it if you need to. But this is like a quick link to the main stage, which is where the content is being offered, and we can see that the event that we're all looking forward to starts in 53 minutes. Yay! And that's what's on the main stage. There's something happening on the premium stage right now, but I need to register for premium content in order to access it. Okay, folks. That's all she wrote. I see that someone else has joined the call though, Girish. If you want to say hi, I can stay on for a couple minutes. If you need any assistance, please let us know. You can ping us in Gardening General. You can also speak up here. And super nice to see you, and thanks for joining.
Yeah, it looks like the same register is the reason I can't look at premium content, even though I've already paid.
Yeah, so. That's frustrating, and I don't have access to the back end of that platform, so I can't help you. But that's a shame because I think that workshop is going to be really good. Victor is pretty cool, so yeah, I'm sorry about that. It's a pain, and I'll see. Actually, let me check and see if I got email from them now. I'm going to stop recording though. Should have done that a while ago. Goodbye, folks at home.